G'day, Mike here, and in this video I want to just introduce Adwords Editor, the new version 11 layout. So if you've been using Adwords Editor in the past, which I know some of you have, then it's a complete change to what we had up until version 11. If you've never seen inside Adwords Editor before, well, this is a perfect opportunity to start because it's completely different from the last one. It's quite confusing if you are used to the last one, but it is such a good tool. It's going to save you hours and hours and hours. I highly recommend that you do dive in, have a play with it. So to begin with here, I just want to give you a bit of a walkthrough, show you some of the things that it can do so that you get a feel for the power of it. And then if you want to ask me specific questions about specifically what can it do, I can create some more videos after this. All right, so the first thing you're going to do when you open it is you're going to go to the accounts screen and you're going to load, just double click. You can now load about 5 at once, but you're just going to double click the one, so you may have to, you'll log into your account first, so you'll hit add, log in using OAuth into your main MCC account, so use the name and password for your MCC. That'll give you a list of everything in the MCC. Double click on the one you want to load and hit open. Once you've done that inside of here, if you have multiple people, so many agencies will have multiple people working on accounts, the very first thing you want to do is to then go and say get recent changes, and I always pick the more data because it says slower, but it really is not that much slower. It goes off, has a chat to AdWords, and pulls in any new changes. That'll just take a minute or so. While that's doing that, do this every single time. Even if you're the only person running the account, it's often quite hard to remember, have I done anything since? So yeah, it takes a few seconds, always worth doing this. Now the reason I wanted to do this and show you exactly here what's going on, you'll see up the top here it says review changes, and the green stuff is new stuff that it's downloaded. If you've made changes but haven't yet posted them, I'm going to get to that in a second, then they'll show in purple. And if you've got stuff that's conflicting between the two, that'll show in red. If you follow this, you should never get a conflict, because what we're going to do is we're going to get these recent changes, we're going to do some work inside of Adwords Editor, post those back, and so we're never actually working on one account in the interface and in Adwords Editor at the same time. Therefore, that's never going to be a problem. Now, you do need to do this review changes because there's a bunch of options that will not be available to you until you hit this done button. So if you're ever stuck, if you're ever looking for something and you're thinking this worked last time, why isn't it working now? It could well be because you have this little box at the top and you need to click on done. When you're loading stuff up in bulk, you'll also, so if you're building a new campaign, if you're loading in a whole bunch of image ads or a whole bunch of new keywords, I'll show you that later, you'll also have a little box at the top, and you have to hit this before you can continue. It looks like you can continue. It looks like you can go off and do other stuff. I'm on a Mac, so my menu is off to the side of the top of the screen where I have other options of things I can do, but many of those options are not there until I hit done. Now, the other thing that you may want to do straight away, it's often going to make things more useful, but you don't need it for everything that you're going to do inside Editor, is to download some stats. So I'm going to go grab the stats for the last 30 days for this particular account. This is one of our demo accounts, so there's probably not a lot in there. It should be fairly quick. And you can see it bangs through that reasonably quickly. And now, if I scroll over to the side here, I've got data for the various entities that I'm looking at. So let's talk about those entities. Well, actually, just to finish this top bit, the last one I'll talk about here is post. So if I were to make a change to something, so here let me just change, for the sake of argument, change the name of this campaign, you'll see a couple of things. One is I get this little delta, which is Google's geeky way of saying there is a change. A delta means change in geek language. So this little triangle means there's a change. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but that campaign name is now bolded. And if I hover over that, just about move my mouse out of the way there, I can see the old, in this case, name, and then the new name in bold. If we're changing a bid, we can see the old bid as well as the new bid in bold. And then if I wanted to, I could then post that change back into my AdWords account. So nothing changes in your AdWords account until you post that stuff back. So when you're playing with AdWords Editor, you can make as many changes as you like here and change things and change bids and mess around with all of this stuff. As long as you don't hit that post button, nothing is going to change, nothing is going to matter. So don't worry about breaking anything. And I'll show you, well, let's just do that now. If I were to change this and add some weird name in here, if after I've played with all of this stuff, I decide I don't want to post these changes, here we go, revert. So I can just revert, which means undo those changes, and that way I can undo everything at the end here and I don't need to worry about a thing. All right, so now that we've introduced that, the key thing to get your head around here, and this has changed a little bit in version 11, is that whatever you've got highlighted over in this top box, top left in the tree view, this tells AdWords Editor the stuff that you want to appear in the main window over on the right hand side. And then the bottom left now says these are the things I want to work on. So at the moment you can see we've got campaigns highlighted across the entire account, and so we're seeing all of those campaigns. If I were to click Ad Groups, we'd be looking at all 1900 or 1879 ad groups in all of those campaigns. But to help demonstrate this, and then the next most useful thing that you'll be doing a lot is you'll be working on one campaign at a time. So you can click on one campaign over here, and then that campaign will show up on the right hand side because we've got campaigns. If I want to look at all 3 ad groups in this campaign, I can click Ad Groups. If I click on a single ad group, this is now telling, remember this tells it what to work on, this is now one ad group. And you can see that that changes here. I've got ad groups 1 down here, and then I do the work over on the right hand side. Now, the change with version 11 is I can shift click or I can control click multiple campaigns and even multiple ad groups in the tree view, and it only displays those over on the side. So it's kind of a built-in filter into this tree view. We used to have to use, so this is not only the search function, you can also build filters, and I'll explain that in a later video. But you used to have to build these complicated filters if you only wanted to work on a subset of the entire account. Now you can do it very, very easily by control clicking or shift clicking, or a combination of both if you really want to get funky. And then this says, if I go back to the campaigns, you can see that those 10 I've got highlighted there, I'm only working on those 10 and all of the stuff that is within those 10. So if I, for instance, wanted to work on all of the ad groups in these 3 DNBC campaigns, you can see I've got campaigns 2. Oh, there's actually only 2 ad groups there, but these 2 ad groups, which are actually both in the same campaign, that's not the best example. What else have we got here? What's that got inside? Nothing. A lot of these have got no ad groups because they've all been deleted and removed. Okay, but if I do that, if I shift click over here, I've got 2 campaigns and I've got 106 ad groups. So now over here, if I click on ad groups to say work on ad groups, please, now I'm working on the ad groups. I'm on the ad group name screen, but only for those 2 campaigns. So I think this is a huge improvement over the previous version, and really easy and quick now to work on certain things. And then the bottom right here, so depending on what I'm working on, so again here I'm working on ad groups. So when I click on this, I'm working on ad groups. I can change things like the ad group name, the bid for that ad group. And obviously with display, let's dive into a display campaign. For display, I've got a lot of things that I can only do at the ad group. So I can, for instance, play with my targeting optimization. Aggressive is the new name for DCO, Display Campaign Optimizer. I can change my custom bids So I'm not going to explain all of that here. That's all in the Display Network Bootcamp stuff, but maybe I want to have custom bids for, well, let's say age. Then I can set them here. The benefit is if I hit Control A or Command A on a Mac to highlight all of the ad groups, I can now set those custom bids across all of those campaigns in one go. This is a massive pain to do in the interface. Really, really easy to do here. I'm just going to go revert that change. So what do I want to work on? Specifically the type of element that I want to work on down the bottom here. The list of stuff that I'm working on, which is where I can go and choose the individual item that I want to work on, or groups of items that I want to work on, and then making the change down here. So if I dive into campaign, give ourselves a little bit of room here, and I click on this, well, let's see, if I click on 3 over here, then I get 3 campaigns up here, and then I can pick on one or all of those and make changes down the bottom here. So if I wanted to enable all of those campaigns in one go, I could enable all 3 in one go. If I wanted to change the budget just of this one, I could come in here and change the budget. And you can see that almost all of your campaign settings are here. Delivery method, ad rotation. Location targeting is a little bit funky, I guess, in here. So if we pick on one, you can see this is location targeting United States. This then takes me off to a different place. So we haven't got to that yet. I'll talk about that in a second. And now I can say, okay, location is the US. Maybe if I wanted to add a location here, I can put in Australia. But because this has to have a chat to the API, and because it knows that I probably am not going to type this exactly as the API recognizes it, rather than just adding that straight away like you would in the interface, we have to edit and find location, Australia. What do you mean? Well, actually, I mean that Australia, the one with 43 million reach, and then hit OK. And then it adds that in, and you can see again underneath the delta, we've now got actually not a change in this case, but a plus sign. So depending on the type of element that you're working on, you'll either see a triangle there, which means a delta, a change, or a plus sign, something has been added, or a minus sign, something has been removed. Let's just revert that. All right, so you've got a fair idea of the tree view and this bit up the top here. Down the left-hand side now, let's give ourselves a bit more room to play with down here. Down this side here, we now have the elements that we want to work on. So if I go back to a search campaign, then I actually have some keywords. So I have 33 keywords across this entire campaign and all of the ad groups in. Again, if I just wanted to pick on an individual ad group, I could do that. And now it tells me there are 11 keywords and I can go work on them over here on the right. And again, I make my changes often down here. So if I wanted to change the bid for this particular keyword, I would do the change down here on the right hand side. If you're used to AdWords Editor, this is a little bit of a change. This used to be across the top here. You'd have keywords and then positive, negative. Now they're all split out separately. So keywords negative in here for the campaign. There's actually no negs in this one. I guess we don't really need them in terms of people going after me. I guess, yeah, we could add a negative keyword in here just to show you how negs work. You can add it at a campaign or an ad group. I might add a campaign negative keyword of MMA, because there's an MMA guy called Mike Rhodes. I could add another one there of UFC. Add another negative keyword. That overwrote it, so MMA. So I can add multiple campaign, and again you see the plus sign because I've added new stuff. If I then wanted to change the match type of all of my negs from broad to phrase, I can do that easily. So the main thing here is big bulk changes. And on the way down, so I'm not going to add or remove something for all of these, but just so that you know what is available in here, we've got our locations. So campaign level setting. So even if we're only working on a particular ad group, obviously this represents the locations for the campaign, not for the individual ad group, because it's a campaign level setting, as is the negative locations. Of course, that only matters if you're saying in your targeting, exclude people in those negative locations. Placements, if I were to find, I don't know if we've got any managed placement stuff in here, probably not. What's that one? That's the old demo managed. Now everything's been deleted from there. But assuming that you had, which I don't in this particular demo account, assuming that you had a managed placement campaign, then the placements would show up there. So this is then really easy for doing bulk bid changes and obviously bulk ad changes. Get to those in a sec. Neg placements. So you probably know by now that, well, most of the time, not in this one, we add AdSense for mobileapps.com to pretty much every GDN campaign that we set up. If you're doing topic targeting, so topics and neg targets come in there. Product targets and product groups for your shopping campaigns. Dynamic ad targets and negative dynamic ad targets. Audiences. So in this particular case, in this one here, this was one with a lot of in-market audiences. If I keep scrolling down, there might be something else. Yeah, here we go. We've got a bunch of affinity targets in here too. I think this was a test to show all of the affinity and all of the in-market audiences, of which there are a lot. If you're not playing with those, you really should be. You can also have negative audiences, obviously, negative in-market and affinity and remarketing. Remarketing would live in audiences under here too. Just going to check this. Here we go. If I add and say, okay, let's add into here, I'm pretty sure, yeah, here we go. This, well, okay, other is dead now, but interest now, affinity in market, but it will also have a little chat to the AdWords API and pull in a list of all of your remarketing lists. So if you want to add remarketing lists, this is, I find, a much faster way of doing it, either positive or negative. I'm recording a video this week on my new remarketing grid idea. Blog post for that will go up this week, but I find it a much easier way to add both the positive and the exclusions for remarketing using editor. And obviously then the rest of GDN stuff, age and gender, is here as well. So then the last part, let's close that up, are all of the ads and extensions part. So go back up here. Within this group here, I've got 4 text ads, and I can come into here and make changes to those text ads. Obviously it shows me a little preview. I can set my device preferences in here. So this one's set to mobile only, and I won't change the size of the window because that will mess up the video recording. But one thing I probably should have mentioned earlier on is across the top here, if I right click on here, I can see different columns. So this destination URL, I can just scroll off to the side. I'm just trying to make that smaller so that you can see. So I could say sort by device preference, find, and I could maybe do that across the entire campaign, sort by that, find all my mobile. Or I could find my, let's assume I didn't have any mobile ads here, I could find all of my all device preferences, copy, paste. Copy, paste, and then change all of those to mobile in one go, if I really wanted to. Let's revert that because that got a bit confusing. But let's just say, let's do this maybe one group at a time. It'll be less confusing. So I'm working on one ad group. I'm working on just text ads. I come over here, I hit Command A or Control A to copy all, and then Control C, Control V, which pastes them straight in. Change device preference to mobile, and bang, there you go. Now, obviously, I would then probably come in and change my ad copy a little bit. I'd probably put M dot at the front of the domain. I'd probably put call now in the D1 or D2, but you get the idea. I can make those changes very quickly. I'm going to revert those. DSA, I don't have a demonstration DSA in here, and that's obviously going through some changes at the moment. But I've got my product listings, image ads, fantastic for bulk adding lots and lots of image ads. That's one thing I use Editor for a lot. Let's say I was working on these 3 campaigns and I wanted to add image ads to all of the ad groups inside all 3 of those campaigns in one hit. I can just come into make multiple changes. Don't have any, I'm just not sure exactly what I want to show on the screen here, so I can move that off to the side and find the folder that I have image ads in, and I can choose 10. Here we go, I'll show you on here. So I found my folder with my image ads. I've got 10 image ads. I can shift click all of those and then hit open, and then that lists the 10 ads in here. And then you can see where I've got the ticks over here. I can then choose which campaigns, which individual ad groups do I want to add these image ads to. Really, really easy. I know that's a little bit hard to see, but if I wanted to add it to, there's no ad groups in this one, that's why I can't add it to these. But if I wanted to add it to both of these ad groups in this campaign, I actually don't need to open that. I can just tick the campaign name and it adds it to that, and tick to add to every ad group inside of here. And if I wanted to not add it to certain ad groups, I could blow that up, at which point the tick becomes a little line there, and I could add to some or all ad groups within there. And then you just hit process and it goes brrrring. I've had to think about it. I've just added 308 image ads to all of the things that you told me to go add them to. Finish and review. And like I said before, when you add stuff, you get this little keep reject box at the top. A whole bunch of options won't work until you hit keep. Obviously, in this case, I'm going to hit reject because that was just a quick example. The other thing that you can do in bulk here are site links. I'm not sure if we have any in there. We do. So you can do site links and change then the link text, the expanded. So if you're doing expanded, this is a great place to be able to do those at bulk if you want, device preference, etc., all in there. So that should give you a pretty good idea of how to use it in terms of what you're going to use it for. Search and replace is good. Anything that you want to do at bulk. So adding in lots of new keywords or lots of new ad groups or lots of new ads, text or image, bulk bid changes. What else have we shown? Copying campaigns, like we showed before. So we go back to the campaign. If I want a copy of this, maybe I want to run RLSA, but I want to have a separate campaign that's running my RLSA layer on this one, but I want to change the ads. I need a second campaign. I can just easily come in here, copy paste, change the name, so it'd be brand plus RLSA, say for instance, and then I can go make the changes that I need. Really, really useful tool. It's going to save you hours. I hope you find it useful. Please let me know what's useful in here or what you want more information about specifically, and I'd love to do some additional videos to help. Thanks. See you soon. Bye.